Welcome into another edition of Carps Corner, and sorry for a little bit of inconsistencies over the past week. Had a lot going on, a lot of stuff happening, getting ready to renovate our house and do a lot of stuff. Kids have been busy. We've had championship swim meets, trying to get down to Kings Island, enjoy a little bit of the summer before it drifts away. My oldest are going to the middle school, so they don't want to hang out with dad too much anymore. So I'm going to cherish some of those few moments that they actually think that I'm kind of a cool dude and still want to kind of be around me. And so anybody that's had children understand what that's like as they evolve and go on to become their own person. You know, they kind of leave mom and dad in the dust sometimes and go and do their own thing. And that's perfectly acceptable. But it is a tough reality. So you know what? I try to embrace it, try to enjoy as much as I possibly can with them before they ultimately move on their way. And so with that, we've got another great episode here. A lot of things coming down the pike as I've kind of looked through everything that's been going on here this week. A lot of news in Ohio, a lot of news in Texas, got news from across the pond. Don't do a ton of golf, but I do think that it's pertinent right now to kind of dive into that. And with that, I want to start off with the Tiger Woods, situation. Didn't make the cut at St. Andrews at the British Open. 150th anniversary, birthplace of golf. He's won there twice before. Didn't play well. I believe he finished at 8 over, if I'm not mistaken, 7 over yesterday, 1 or 2 over today, somewhere there. But it really isn't about the golf. It's about, Tiger, who, is getting up there in age. Physically, his body is eroding, which happens to all athletes. Even Tom Brady, it does happen to, and will happen to. But watching him walk the 18th, walk across the bridge as Jack did, and it didn't stop to have the pause, didn't stop to have, but did have the wave. It's not going to be, I think, 5 to 7 years before it's at St. Andrews again. And, Tiger openly, candidly said he doesn't know if he'll be playing competitive golf the next time it comes to the old course. And so I get it. And you could see him there at 18, visibly tearing up. And for a guy who is one of the best players ever to play the game, was on track and on pace to probably win more majors than Jack. And everybody watches and tunes in. This is why I do. To see if you can catch that glimpse, that lightning in a bottle that we were able to at the Masters a couple of years ago, where you got the old guy, and I don't care whether it's, Bird, basketball, Jordan in basketball, Joe Montana with the Chiefs, like guys who are hanging on that you hope for one more great performance. Tom Brady, when he won his Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, and you just hang in there because you're hoping, you have so much nostalgia for these guys that they're going to be able to conjure up like otherworldly, ungodly, just crazy performances that no one at their age should be able to do. But you've seen him do it so many times before, so you're waiting for that. And maybe we get one more of those out of Tiger. Maybe we get one. We got one at the Masters. I'm hoping that we get one more. That was a special moment for me when he won the Masters, a handful of years back, I believe 2019. And because I'm watching with my son, and I remember watching that, his first one with my dad, and him do something that nobody had ever seen before. And so it was a very emotional experience. So seeing Tiger tear up today, and you could see the emotion of understanding like this might be, kind of his goodbye, in a sense that maybe he plays there again, maybe he doesn't. But this was the last one you probably felt like there was even a shot, a glimmer of hope that he'd be able to go out there and do something. And you face your own mortality. And that's what he was facing there today. And what a scene it was. It was packed. All of the grandstands were filled up, and you could see the appreciation. And for the Europeans, this might be the last time, they see Tiger at St. Andrews. I mean, maybe he doesn't play any more British Opens. Who knows what could happen? But for one of the greatest golfers of all time and the greatest golfer of his era, for them, not to have a chance to, drive and fly around America. I mean, you have to fly all the way over here to see him. You could see the appreciation from the Brits and from, any Europeans that were there, knowing that this was probably their last time that they were going to get a chance to see this guy play at St. Andrews, and who knows how many more opens he has left in him. So as we sit here and look at this and see it, like it was kind of an emotional day as I'm watching that. I didn't know exactly what would happen. I was hoping he'd make a run, be able to get back down to even and maybe make the cut just to give him that weekend performance and give him that Sunday send off, even if he's teeing off first on Sunday. But ultimately it didn't happen. But it just reminds us of our own mortality. And I reference this all the time. You know, an athlete dies twice. You have the same timeline as everyone else that's on your headstone. But also, as your skills erode and you begin to lose those superhuman qualities, those superhuman characteristics that allowed you to do things that no one else could do, or very few people in this world that were able to do and do it at that type of level. And so that's what we may be seeing here with Tiger. He knows at the beginning of the end. Maybe he's able to put something together, like I said, the next couple of years at one of the majors. I don't know if he can put it together for 4 days. We saw, put it together for 2 days is tough. Today wasn't bad. Friday wasn't bad. Thursday was not great, but that's just how it is. And time is undefeated, catches up to everybody. And it was great to see Tiger kind of bidding a fond farewell, if you will, to St. Andrews, the old course, and all of his European supporters. Now, with that, there's some other golf news, and Dustin Johnson finished his round Friday in the lead. Still the afternoon group was pushing through, but Dustin Johnson played pretty darn well and came off on fire. LIV member, and I know that probably irks the PGA. If he were to win this thing, it'd be crazy. Yeah, I know I don't talk a lot of golf, but I'm almost cheering for the chaos to watch somebody be able to do that as part of the LIV tour that they don't want playing in these majors really, but they don't want to, exclude them either and set up a different set of rules. So as long as they can still get their exemptions, they're still going to play in it. Yeah, but one of the things that they're going to do, and I'm going to throw this up here, is they need to get some commentators. And they're looking now potentially at bringing in Charles Barkley, one of TV's biggest stars, in a broadcasting role. Now, I know this. Barkley's a great dude. I had a chance to get to hang out with him a little bit. He's the same guy in person as he is on television, probably just a little more profanity. I would be highly entertained by Charles Barkley calling some of the LIV golf stuff. And we've heard him before as part of the match, provides great commentary, and he's a terrible golfer and he gets it. But what he would just be able to say, the funny comments, just the authenticity, I think it would be a huge plus. It would be a huge bonus. We'd be getting a great present for Charles Barkley, and he loves the cash, to join the broadcasting team for the LIV. That would be fantastic. And I think it would really enhance the broadcast quality, the production quality. It would be funny. It'd give insight into it. The guy, like I said, you heard him during the match. He's funny. He's good. It gives you that window into kind of who he is and him talking about golf, which he loves but struggles with. So I think it would be good. That would give it that entertainment quality that I think it's missing right now. And it's got some really good golfers, but it's got to have something else. It's got to have another offering. And so it's been on YouTube. You throw Charles Barkley on there with it, and he's going to meet with them about a broadcasting role. What that looks like, I have no idea, but I think it'd be pretty darn entertaining. It should be pretty darn fun to be able to see that as well. So now we've got some college football news. My guy, America's favorite mullet, who he did shave it off, Mike Gundy, head coach of the Oklahoma State Sooners, had some comments at Media Day. And we're in media day season. We had Big 12 already go. The SEC is coming up, Pac-12, Big 10, ACC, all the media days over the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 days in a row, boom, boom, boom. All of these teams, all of the coaches coming out there talking. They really don't say much. However, some of these guys are getting a little honest. Some of these coaches will spill it out. And that's what Mike Gundy was doing, voicing some of his thoughts on how he thinks the Big 12 should be operating. And you're going to get some, I think, candor from some of these coaches and some of the conferences that are getting rated. And they're going to speak to, hey, so just all about the dollar and the teams that are leaving, what should they be able to meet on and talk about with the future? And so he threw out there that he doesn't think Texas and Oklahoma should be able to sit in their meetings. Yeah, you can go to media day, But when they're talking about the future of the conference, Texas and Oklahoma are still in there, but only for a couple more years. Why would you ever let somebody who isn't going to be with you long term sit in a meeting and potentially dictate or be able to have the information, and not that it's all proprietary, but of what you're going to do and how your future is going to be determined? There may be some great ideas that are thrown around in there. AD from TCU could throw something out there. AD from Houston, who's going to be joining, how the conference is going to be configured. And meanwhile, they're going to be joining the SEC. And so any innovative idea or any innovative thought, or maybe potential even targets about how to pull people in from the West Coast, how Brockmeyer, their new commissioner, maybe some ideas of negotiating TV rights and streaming and how to bundle all that stuff together, because he's coming from a way different industry than really everybody but Kliakoff, the Pac-12 commissioner's coming from, because those guys are private industry, entertainment industry, not coming up through the traditional ranks. But Mike Gundy says, no, get them out of there. Texas and OU shouldn't be able to sit in on our meetings when we're discussing future, when we're discussing strategy, what potentially should happen, any rules, changes, emphasis, how things are going to be structured in the league moving forward. What do they have to do with it? They broke the trust. They told us they're out. They're not going to be a part of it. And so it's time for them to go. It's time for them to leave. And I'm listening to Mike Gundy. He's telling no lies there, folks. If they're not involved in the future and they said, peace, we're out of here, they're going to dip. Why should you be involved in our meetings that are dictating our future? They should be involved in the SEC meetings, maybe not as voting members, but they should be sitting in there understanding what their future is going to hold and being able to weigh in. They can't vote on stuff yet because they haven't officially joined, and that won't happen for maybe next year, maybe 2 years. Who knows how it ultimately looks? Is that buyout so big? And so if you don't want to pay the buyout, you don't get to vote with the SEC. And yeah, maybe you can vote on some issues here, but when we're talking about big picture things and about the direction of the conference and how we're trying to salvage this thing, you guys were our two most powerful brands. You decided you didn't want to be here anymore. That's your right. You don't want to pay the buyout. And so you're just kind of hanging in purgatory. But with that, you don't get the benefit of being able to help sculpt the future that you're not going to be a part of. And so I completely get it. They got 1 foot out the door, and maybe they're covert assets for the SEC. I don't know, but I do know this, that they're no longer truly part of your conference. And if they're not, why should they be able to be in there? And why should they be able to sit there and listen to what is happening with the future of the Big 12 that they're not going to be a part of? Mike Gundy, well done, sir. Get the salute. Big win for Columbus, Ohio. Born in Texas, born outside of Houston, Missouri City, raised outside of Columbus, Ohio. I consider myself an Ohioan, Central Ohioan through and through. And the one thing that is really tough in really any sport but the NFL is for some of the mid-major markets, Midwestern cities like outside of Chicago, to be able to garner like big time free agents. And we've seen this in basketball with Oklahoma City having to ultimately break up. LeBron not being able to get anyone to come with him to Cleveland. And then you see it with, the Pirates, the Indians, the Reds, the Royals, like they're able to put together a little bit of a run. Like you have to overpay usually for free agents, and maybe you don't have the cash to be able to do it. In a hard cap situation, like in hockey, it's like the NFL. You have to convince guys to come, and you can't just overpay for everybody. And even when you try to overpay for some guys, they still don't want to come anyway. And so this was a huge win for the Columbus Blue Jackets and, mid-market sports teams everywhere. Johnny Gaudreau, probably the top free agent out there, turned down more money from Calgary to come and play in Columbus. And I love Columbus. And, there's probably guys like Rick Nash, Jody Shelley, Cam Atkinson, a dude who also went to Boston College, neighbor of mine, who both of them wore 13 there. Cam went first, Johnny came second. There's pictures of them on social media driving around, Columbus. But I love Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio has got a lot to offer, man. It's got some elite golf courses. It's a great place to live. Sports here are fantastic. If you're a winner, they're behind you. They will fill it up. They will support you if you are putting in the effort. Like, it is really a great place to raise a family. And so a lot of the Russian hockey players that have been here, they left. There's not enough cocaine and hookers here. And I say that tongue in cheek, but Russian dudes live a different type of lifestyle. They're not necessarily wanting to settle down, be a family guy, man. But Johnny Gaudreau, family dude, having a kid, wants to know where's a good place I can get a house, go do my job, play hockey at a competitive place that's trying to win and really have a high quality of life in what I'm doing and really enjoy it. Well, bingo, buddy. This is it for you. Columbus is your place. And so congratulations being able to get this done. This was a big deal. Johnny Gaudreau signing here for, I think, 7 years. And he took a couple million less and a year less on his deal to come to Columbus over staying in Calgary. And so for mid-market teams, as you watch, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, like all those guys flee Oklahoma City, and LeBron having to leave Cleveland. You've watched stars leave all of the major baseball markets in the Midwest because they want to go to the coast, big time dollars, all these things. It's great to see this now that, what did I value? Like, I liked living in Dallas. Why? Because I could get a house, I could hang out, wasn't crazy expensive, great sports fans, good food, there's nice golf, like a great place to raise a family. Like, that's what I was looking for. I like visiting New York. I like visiting LA, Boston. Like, those are great places to visit, but I never have wanted to raise a family there. That's why my parents moved back to outside of Columbus, to Lancaster, where they're from, after my dad playing in Houston and New York and LA. It's like, you know what? It's a great place to raise a family. And for some athletes, like, that matters a lot. Doesn't matter all of them. Everybody has a different why. And this is what's really hard for people to understand. Certain people value money. Certain people value quality of life. Certain people value coworkers. Like, there's all these different things that people are going to ultimately value. And Johnny Gaudreau said, hey, this is what I value. This is the place that lines up, and approaches the franchise to say, hey, I want to come to Columbus. This is where I want to be. I've heard a lot of great things. I like where you guys are headed. You got some good young players. You know what? Maybe we're a playoff team next year. We'll build this thing for the future and be able to go and have success. And I love that that's how that ultimately works, because very rarely does it ever work out like that, for many of these mid-market teams. All right. So I'm a little thirsty today. Finish up with this. So Deshaun Watson, the NFL still hasn't come down with his ruling yet. Got to figure out exactly what his suspension is going to be. But the Houston Texans settled with all 30 women in his lawsuit. It's confidential, so we'll throw that up here. It's confidential. They're not going to release any of the terms of it. One of the women listed them as a co-conspirator in the suit because they helped put together the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements for him, so that when, these massage therapists would come in, they'd sign this. What you see and say in here stays in here, like, can't be talked about anywhere else. He put these together, or the Texans did. And so, were they culpable in it? I don't know. But I know this. The NFL, as I talk all the time, does not like bad publicity. The only thing they hate worse than bad publicity is continued bad publicity on the same thing. And that is why the Houston Texans put this bow on it. Rusty Harden, his manager came out, or his attorney came out. It's like, hey, what they did is in their own self-interest. Their deal with Busby and the 30 accusers, that's their business. So it has nothing to do with Deshaun. And it really doesn't. The Houston Texans don't want this lingering. Roger Goodell doesn't want it lingering. The other 31 franchises don't want it lingering. And that is why they finally said, hey, you know what? Enough's enough. We're going to get this thing settled. This is what we're going to do. And we're not going to mess around anymore. We can't afford to be screwing around with this stuff. And so we're going to get this thing taken care of. We're going to get this settled, put in a box. And you know what? Whatever he does, that's on him. He being Deshaun Watson. Houston Texans, we're getting ahead of this. We're taking care of it. We're locking this thing up. We're having these settlements move around. We're having these settlements close the door. We're going to be done with this on our end. And so there's no more civil liability there. And so the Houston Texans take into their own hands, because they don't want this to be drifting into the season. They want the season to all be about the football, about moving forward. And the fact that the Watson's not there anymore, This is just a link into the past that continues to pull them back. And I get why they're so upset about it and why it's like, hey, pay them, whatever it is, we'll figure out a number. And we're talking about a team right now in a league that, if they're talking about the new streaming rights for the Sunday ticket potentially going to Apple at $3 billion per season. That's $92 million per team just on the streaming rights for the Sunday ticket. That doesn't factor in, the ABC, ESPN deal, Fox, CBS, NBC, none of that. Doesn't factor that in. This is just the DirecTV package that was now going to be put up for auction to see who the highest bidder ultimately was. So for them, if they wrote every one of these women a check for $1 million, $500,000, 100,000, who knows? Like, it doesn't matter to them. They just want it to be done and over with. And now it ultimately is for the Houston Texans. And so they can move on. They can go continue living their life and do ultimately what they need to do. Well, that is all for this edition of Carps Corner. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, comment, any other questions. We're getting ready. We're getting close to football season, folks. It is almost here. We're a couple weeks away from the start of training camp. We'll be diving into real stories and not just theoretical things anymore. But there's always stuff that's happening off the field. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time, I'll see you soon.